Hello everyone and welcome back to More Knowing Wheel, where yesterday we return to look towards the Dutch Grand Prix this weekend. Yes, we obviously made a podcast. It was back on Wednesday, if you missed out on that one, where we discussed the Belgian Grand Prix and whether the 2022 title fight is well and truly over. It was a good show, I think we can agree. What say you, my guest?
Yeah, I enjoyed
every
it.
week?
Yeah, the regular guest who doesn't seem to leave ever.
Nope.
I am back once again to discuss Zandvoort. The previous podcast, we had a on-site reporter of being myself, was at the Belgian Grand Prix. So, yeah, I enjoyed it very much. It recovered my sleep just about by now. But yeah, we go again for triple header, the second of three.
Yes, exactly. So there are going to be a lot of podcasts over the next couple of weeks. So, if you're watching this on YouTube and you do just want to listen to this, say you got a flight or you're in the car, something like that, or even if you just don't want to look at our ugly mugs, we'll leave links to Spotify down in the description below. Of course, we've got links to absolutely everything down there. We've got Bybit as well. Definitely recommend checking them out. F1 merch, they've had a couple of brilliant sales going on in recent weeks as well. So yeah, plenty of things to have a look at. But yes, today though, like we said, we're going to be doing a bit of a shorter preview show as we look towards the Dutch Grand Prix, of course. We mentioned a couple of things on Wednesday that we were going to talk about today, otherwise that podcast would have been about 3 days long. So I think, Jamie, let's just get into it then. The first and probably biggest news heading into this weekend was actually, I think, leaked on, I want to say it was McLaren Unboxed, or it might have been Ferrari's show, whatever they do. But it was actually Pierre Gasly saying he has had contract negotiations with Alpine. Now, literally minutes before we started recording, I did see an article stating that Gasly has worked out his terms to leave AlphaTauri. Of course, we've known about that he could for quite a while if the right deal came along. But are we going to see Gasly and Ocon as the ultimate French powerhouse team that hate each other?
Yeah, I think for a very long time it's been documented well that they don't quite get on, to say the least.
I would love to know how many times you've said that on our podcast.
I know. Yeah, that one random episode of Beyond the Grid gets so many references whenever we bring up Gasly or Ocon. But yeah, I kind of wrote off any chance of them two being in the same team. But if they can work it out, there's hope for anyone. So yeah. Also, interestingly, like on the topic of drivers not getting on, potentially being teammates, I saw one of the candidates for the Haas seat, which we'll get into in a bit, is Nico Hülkenberg to partner Kevin Magnussen.
That would be spicy.
Like 2 different teams just beefing all year.
I mean, it would certainly make Formula 1 interesting, wouldn't it? But,
yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting point when you think about Ocon, because he's not been in F1 that long, and he hasn't ever really got on well with any of his teammates, has he? Of course.
Yeah, he doesn't really give much quarter to anyone.
No.
Some drivers are obviously very hard against drivers other than their teammates. So, Kevin Magnussen tends to race other people very hard, but doesn't tend to race his... I mean, Grosjean, he had a few crashes with, didn't he?
Yeah,
but there's drivers that give their teammates a bit of extra space because they are teammates. Ocon seems the opposite. He's like a normal driver until it's his teammate.
You just
and then he just starts beefing.
You just get the sense that Ocon just has engraved in his brain that obviously, of course, your main rival is your teammate in Formula 1, but Ocon seems to see that. I mean, maybe, just maybe, he had that on the roof of his caravan back when he was a kid, just on the ceiling. So he'd go to sleep every night. That was the last thing he saw. He'd wake up in the morning. It would be the first thing he sees.
Must beat my teammate.
Must beat teammate, just written on the ceiling. But yeah, I mean, he didn't get on particularly well with Pascal Wehrlein back when they were at Manor for half a season together. It's very well documented just how badly him and Sergio Perez got on, because they had a couple of very, very scary moments back in his Racing Point days. And he has spent a lot of this year annoying Fernando Alonso, hasn't he? Of course, Hungary was probably the flashpoint of that.
And the team have helped him out as well by annoying Alonso.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had Jeddah, they had very close calls with Ocon weaving on the straight. Canada, they favoured Ocon's strategy. Well, he blocked very late, didn't he, on the inside of the main straight. Canada, they screwed Alonso's strategy and then told him to stay behind Ocon at the end.
Because the car was knackered.
Well, it was.
I don't think Alonso could have made a move.
He wasn't allowed to, but he put it on the front row, and then they favoured Ocon all race, which is a shame for Fernando. And then Hungary was ridiculous. So, yeah,
So I mean,
Yeah.
it just throws another name though, doesn't it, into the Alpine mix? It really is now Mick Schumacher, Pierre Gasly, or Daniel Ricciardo. If you were a betting man, Jamie, say right now you had £500 to bet on who gets that seat next
I'd
year.
invest it.
You'd invest it, would you? That's
Yeah.
a very, very wise answer. But we'll start up an investing podcast after this.
Yeah.
Who would you be putting your money on at this very moment?
I would put it on Gasly just because
Would
that's been the talk of the town recently. And yeah, the Ricciardo move's kind of gone a bit quiet. And yeah, I don't think Mick Schumacher's good enough to warrant that step up, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very difficult, isn't it? Because I think we've kind of accepted now that if Gasly went to Alpine, sorry, I don't know why I've suddenly forgot the name of the team then. I could picture the logo, but all I could think was Renault, which is worrying.
Yeah.
Obviously, then that raises questions because surely AlphaTauri would hire within their junior program.
I saw talk of Colton Herta. And
It hasn't got enough super
weirdly,
license points.
No, he hasn't. But
the FI would sort it out, I think.
I think basically, I don't know why they'd be so fixated on him, but I saw a thing Helmut Marko didn't want to let Gasly go unless it was for Colton Herta.
I mean, it's a very good point. I think the thing is with Colton Herta as well, especially where he has come from the IndyCar side of things, and I think obviously because the US has such a weird relationship with Formula One, we've seen it before in the past, haven't we? You know, like your Scott Speeds back there. I mean, a big part of why Toro Rosso was set up originally was so they could try and field an American, if you remember correctly, all those years ago. It kind of always feels like you can bring in an American driver for a season in Formula One, and it's kind of, if it doesn't work out, they just kind of go back to IndyCar again. But if it does work out, you know, in basically probably the prime example, of course, is either Mario Andretti or Phil Hill a very, very long time ago now.
Yeah.
But we kind of haven't really had a good example more recently than that.
No.
But it's kind of like you can bring him in for 1 year. If it doesn't go well, they go back to IndyCar, and everyone kind of forgets it happens. And
That's kind of what they did with Gutierrez. I know he's Mexican,
Yeah.
but like when Haas were new, they were like, we must get a North American in.
Yes, yeah. But especially in AlphaTauri, that is basically a team specifically designed for bring someone in for a year, and if it doesn't work, get rid.
Yeah.
It's kind of the perfect combo.
I'd really like to see Liam Lawson get a shot. He obviously did very well at F2 in Belgium, but he's had a pretty unlucky
mediocre
season.
year, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but I rate he could still get top 3, which is enough super license points, and he obviously finished 9th or 10th last season.
Yes.
So he'd only actually need about top 5 or 6 to get enough super license points. But
yeah,
I think if he's obviously finishing 5th or 6th, they won't bother. But if he does get top 3, that's probably worth a shot, especially because it means they get from inside their own academy as well.
If he can finish off the season on a high, then he probably, you know, he could really sort of try and set himself up for it. But I guess that brings us on then, of course, with discussions of Mick Schumacher. There really are very few talks about him staying at Haas. Could Ricciardo find himself down at Haas alongside Kevin Magnussen?
Yeah, that's that. I don't know, like how much money that he would be commanding, especially off the back of his McLaren stint.
I don't think he could.
Yeah, I don't think he's in a position to really. But with him looking at the likes of Haas or Williams are the only real options if Gasly gets the Alpine seat. There's no way he can ask for like however much he's on, like 30 million or whatever it is, because they simply can't afford it. There's no way. Like even when Hulk was looking for a seat in 2020 or for 2020. He couldn't go to Haas or Williams because they couldn't afford Hulkenberg, and if they can't afford Hulkenberg,
or didn't want to,
he didn't want to,
no,
he didn't want us to take that step down. So it depends on how desperate Ricciardo is to stay in Formula One, I think.
And I mean, if he's come out and said, hasn't he? You know,
his sabbatical is on the table.
Yeah, which
would basically mean retirement.
Wouldn't surprise me if the clock just slowly runs out on Daniel Ricciardo in a very, very weird way. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of got all this speculation still, haven't we? I personally am still in the boat of I think Ricciardo will go back to Alpine next year. You know, I think he sort of said he left the team on fairly strong terms. Of course, Cyril Irritable isn't there anymore. And I can see him just trying to go there to sort of build himself back up and kind of accept, you know, if he doesn't beat Ocon, that's basically it.
Well, it proves that he's deteriorated since 2020 because he comfortably beat Ocon back then.
Exactly, yeah.
So
Yeah, very weird position to be. I mean, we even saw one, I don't know if you saw this today, that made me chuckle, of apparently he could go as Mercedes reserve driver.
Oh, I did see that.
Which makes no sense at all.
Stupid.
Which
Unless he's just there
funny.
banking on Hamilton calling it quits after 23.
Yeah, but then they'd bring in someone else probably, wouldn't they, Mercedes?
I don't know. If he did a good job as reserve and was humble with it.
How do you do a good result as a reserve?
I don't know.
No, exactly. Speaking of Mercedes, though, I'm going to try and buttery smooth a segue in there. Obviously, the big talk, or one of the big talks last weekend, was just how poor they were in comparison to where we expected them to be. Zandvoort should theoretically suit their car a lot more, though.
Yeah, obviously pole position in Hungary. I think it's basically, obviously, this is way more simple than it probably is, but like Red Bull strength seems to be long, high-speed corners and straights, which is basically all Spa is.
Yeah.
So when they get to tracks more like Hungary, more like Zandvoort, with medium speed, low speed corners and not many straight lines, Ferrari and Mercedes should be a bit closer. And for the sake of interesting races, we kind of hope they are.
But I mean, even Zandvoort's got quite a lot of higher speed.
It is high speed,
it?
mix of medium speed, high speed, isn't it?
It's going to be a bit weird. I certainly, I think Mercedes now have probably completely accepted Red Bull are off the cards this year.
Yeah, definitely.
But they definitely still were very, very close to Ferrari last weekend.
Even in the race, yeah.
Yeah,
race pace has always been their strength, yeah.
Race pace, they were actually, in the second stint, George Russell was slightly faster
he closed
than Carlos Sainz. Which would still be quite interesting, of course. If obviously if we're not going to get this big championship battle at the front anymore, we might get races where where Ferrari and maybe even Mercedes are a lot closer to Red Bull, but it is now just a done deal. But I think certainly if we can still get that strong battle for P2, it could make things quite spicy, couldn't it, late on in the campaign?
Yeah.
I guess that really then, Jamie, raises the question. Max Verstappen is currently on 9 wins this year.
Yes.
9 wins in a row, 13 wins in a year. Is he going to break or match those records?
He'll definitely get the most wins in a season. I'm almost certain of that.
Helped by longer seasons.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, again, all these stats are always skewed by longer seasons. It'll probably mean someone down the line will beat Verstappen's record when we're cramming in 28 races into a calendar or something like that.
Yeah.
9 wins in a row.
13 out of 19?
13 out of 19 in 2013. Yeah. But Michael Schumacher did 13 out of 17, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I want to say.
Like that.
Is it 2002?
It was 04, he won 13 of the
it was
first 14.
04, wasn't it? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly double check I've got me numbers right there.
Yeah, it was him and Jarno Trulli shared the first 14 race victories.
And then, Kimi Räikkönen won one, didn't he? 1, 2,
yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so Schumacher won 13 of 18, sorry. So that's even insane. Better than Seb did. And of course...
Yeah, I think Verstappen will definitely win more than 13 races. He needs 4 more out of 8 left to equal, and 5 more out of 8 to beat it. I think that's definitely on the cards. I just don't think he'll win 9 in a row.
Really? He's already on 2?
I know he's on 2, but just the mixed up nature of the wins. Obviously, Red Bull won 6 in a row earlier in the season, but that was 3 for Verstappen, then 1 for Perez, and 2 for Verstappen.
But the car is suiting Verstappen more and more every week.
It is. I just
don't think it's going to happen.
Like, I wouldn't have said, if you come ask 13-year-old me in 2013, what do you think Vettel's going to win the next 8 races? I mean, absolutely not. But then it happened. So it's just one of those things that you never can see happening until you're in the midst of it.
Yes, yeah.
Or towards the back end of it, at least. It's like Jamie Vardy scoring 11 in a row in 2016. It's just like, oh, that's not going to happen. And then it did. So, yeah. I'd be surprised. I think Ferrari should be okay enough to win a race in the next 7 races.
This is an incredibly long-winded way of saying no.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I honestly would not be surprised if I ended up in a coma tomorrow for some reason. I get a lot of angry comments that there's no F1 manager going on.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised if we got to the end of the year and Verstappen had done 10 in a row.
No, don't be ridiculous.
No? Okay.
Cut back to that in December.
Yeah, when somehow Red Bull have thrown away the championship from the Leclerc's egg.
Oh, I was saying that he has won 10 in a row, and I'm saying no. You're
oh, right, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I just don't see at the moment, like Ferrari said last weekend, that Red Bull was as quick through any of the corners as their car and so much faster down the straights. Red Bull and Adrian Newey and Max Verstappen have just unlocked something that honestly gives me Seb 2013 nice tyre vibes.
He's also not going to finish every race between now and the end of the season.
Is he not?
Red Bull's reliability is still a bit fragile.
It's not been that bad ever since round 3.
They had problems in Hungary quali. Perez DNF'd in Canada. There's little problems that keep coming up for Red Bull. I'd be very surprised if he gets a clean run to the end of the season now in terms of mechanical reliability.
Here's a fun fact for you then, Jamie, quickly, whilst we're talking about Red Bull. Did you know their last 4 Monaco Grand Prix victories have come under different engines?
Really? What would that be? Red Bull powertrains?
Red Bull powertrains.
Tag Heuer?
Honda.
Oh no, Honda.
Tag
then Tag
Heuer. Renault.
And then Renault. I mean, it's basically 2. Just 2
Yeah,
of them renamed.
But still, very interesting.
And to be fair, the Tag Heuer was actually only half a Tag Heuer.
Yes, it was. Well, 7/8 of
Maybe
Tag Heuer.
70%, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking... Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to link those two together.
Segue there.
No, there's no segue there. Let's talk about... We'll go back round full circle to Alpine. McLaren should be very, very worried about Alpine's performance at Spa because it looks now like McLaren are slowly going to slip away from them. And I think this has honestly been something that's gone under the radar this year. McLaren have not delivered very well at all. We talk about Ferrari and Mercedes. McLaren have gone under the radar because not only should they be a top team anyway, but they're not even delivering and they're going to finish mid-table.
Yeah, they really, with the car they have, I think the Alpine and the McLaren are quite closely matched, and also the driver lineups, if they were acting as they should, they're quite closely matched.
Yeah.
So it does come down to team performance and reliability and all that kind of thing. Norris is doing as best he can. I think he's still 7th in the championship.
Yeah,
which is where he should be.
Still.
But yeah, because Alpine are just being so consistent, basically every race they have both cars in the points, even if it is minor points at 8th and 9th or 8th and 10th or whatever, versus a 7th for Norris or a 9th for Norris and no points for Ricciardo, as has been the theme recently. That makes such a big difference, having 2 drivers regularly scoring. So right now it's 20 points, the gap, I think, which obviously isn't much. But then when you're fighting for minor points and the best you can finish is maybe 5th or 6th, 20 points is suddenly quite a lot.
Yeah,
to make
20
up on a rival.
points for them is like 70 points if you're battling for the World Championship between teams, isn't it? Like, that's skew.
Yeah. Yeah, because the most points you can get one race is maybe pushing it about 15 or 20.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember the other team is going to get then like 4 or 5 if they're lucky in the same race. So you're going to make up points at a much slower rate battling for minor points.
Yeah, and of course there's always the chance for upsets as well, but I think, it's just it's a valid point that McLaren, of course, we kind of let them off for some reason. I don't really know why. I guess it's because they've been midfielders now for so long, but that should still be a championship caliber team. But then again, I guess you could argue Social Williams and things like that, so it does make things a bit complicated, but we need McLaren.
I mean, Alpine as well have been a factory team for 7 years now.
Yeah, but in a weird way with Alpine, isn't it? I don't know, you just never quite expect, for whatever reason. Renault have only ever, Renault have won 3 World Championships, isn't it? Did they not win one
2
with Alain
constructors.
Prost?
No, only 2 constructors.
I could have sworn Alain Prost won a title with Renault.
Nope. In 2005, 2006 were only constructors.
I'm definitely just checking that.
They won a couple. Did they win the drivers with Prost?
This is what I'm checking. No, 1985. He was already at McLaren, wasn't he? Give me a second. Give me a second. Oh no, yeah, he joined McLaren. Sorry, ignore me. He won races with Renault, didn't he? Sorry, but then won his first
2
world title
constructors,
just after
2
his
drivers.
death. Yeah, sorry. I apologise. I thought Alain Prost had done it. There we go. Esteban Ocon's going to become the first French world champion with Renault.
And only the second one ever, apparently.
And only the second one ever. Yes. Yeah, I thought you meant after Prost then as French. But
no.
You know what? Let's get towards Zandvoort then, Jamie. don't think there's a huge amount to really discuss before we get into the weekend, of course, because it is just the Orange Army, everything like that. I think we've got F2 and F3 as well maybe W Series this weekend. If I remember,
I'm not sure about W, but we definitely got the other two.
F2 and F3 this weekend should be quite spicy there as well. But what are we saying predictions for the Dutch Grand Prix?
We're doing straight into it, okay.
Well, what else? Did you have something else to talk about quickly?
Not really, no.
No? Okay, well, we're jumping right into it then.
I made a verbal statement to Matt.
Yes, you did.
Off camera.
Was it off camera?
I think it was off camera. Or it was certainly after we stopped recording last week. That Ferrari would win at Zandvoort.
You did. I'm going to
back that.
You have to. I basically told you were
given that I'm so far ahead, I might as well. So I'm going to go
Williams to win for the rest of the year.
I'm going to go Leclerc pole.
Yep.
I'll go Sainz win.
Okay.
With Leclerc P2 and Verstappen P3.
You're predicting a Ferrari 1-2.
Ferrari 1-2 at Zandvoort and then a Red Bull 1-2 at Monza. Watch it.
You just love to watch the world burn, don't you? You're a crazy, crazy, cynical man. I think for the first time ever this season, going to be the sensible one. Verstappen pole, Verstappen race victory, but I am going to go... Oh, I hate the fact I want to be Merc optimistic. I hate the fact I want to be Merc
I just realised there's no way they'll let Sainz win if Leclerc is P2, but never mind. We move.
Yeah, they're all battling each other. Ferrari, mate. It's Ferrari. They'll do anything. Yeah. I'm going to go Perez P2, and I'm going to say Hamilton P3. Yep, my optimism is peaking out once more. Speaking of Lewis Hamilton, though, quickly, him and Fernando Alonso are best buds again. Kind of. I'm not convinced.
Well, it's all for show, isn't it? But it's quite a nice little post they've done.
Yeah.
But I struggle to buy into the fact that they loathe each other. Because even Hamilton and Rosberg now are like on speaking terms.
Did you know Rosberg beat 7-time Formula 1 world champion Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery?
I did. Although
just a fun fact.
He's only 3-time champion.
He was only a 3-time champion then. It is kind of mad when you think about it.
He did beat 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher.
He did also beat 7-time and at that point pensioner Michael Schumacher. This is something else I was thinking about today, Jamie. Could 2022 be the earliest ever season that Hamilton is out of World Championship contention? In terms of how many races left? Because Hamilton, if my maths hasn't failed me, has still had a shot at the world title heading into the final race of the year. Every season bar 4 in his F1 career. Which is insane when you think about it. 2009, 11, 12, 13 are the only seasons I can think of.
09 he was out after he crashed out at Monza.
Yeah, which was about 4-5 races left?
4 races, I think, from the end. Was it maybe it was 5? It was either 4 or 3.
Let me have a look quickly.
Because there was Japan, which Vettel won.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
Brazil
there was 4
and Abu Dhabi.
races to go, wasn't there?
Oh, Singapore. Yeah.
There was 4 races
so
to go. So yeah, 4 races to go back in 2009. I cannot remember for the life of me when...
He would have been very poor in 2011.
I know
after Singapore, only Button could stop him.
Yes. So that would have been...
So it must have been Monza, probably.
Monza again, which would have left us with 6 races to go, yeah.
And then 2013, Hamilton... Vettel won it in...
India.
Hamilton
was probably out of it a couple before that, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably.
So again, we're saying 6 races to go.
Verstappen might win it with 6 races to go.
Verstappen might well win it with 6 races to go this year. But could this, be the earliest ever in terms of how many rounds left Hamilton gets knocked out of a championship battle? Because the fact of the matter is, it's absolutely insane that every year in the sport, with 6 or less races to go, Hamilton's... The fact that he's gone into 10... more than that now, isn't it? How many seasons has
he's won 7.
Yeah, he's won 7 world titles.
He then had 07.
07, 2010, 2016... No, 2012 he wasn't. Sorry, 2016 and 2021.
Yeah.
So that's
11 years.
11 years Hamilton
He'd either won the title or had a chance of winning the title.
Or had a shot at it into the final race.
That's mad.
People like to talk about Alonso's like 10 points off 5 world titles and all this, that, and the other. But
Hamilton's about 5 points off 11 or something.
Yeah, 40 points off like 11 championships, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah. That's our predictions, though. Let us know what you think. Let us know how stupid I am.
You're just going to circle straight back round, aren't you?
Yep.
No, I think... did I ask you this last week when you think Verstappen will wrap up the world title in 2022? What race? I don't think I did.
Well, what's his gap at the minute? He's got
90-odd points, isn't it? Or is it more than that?
93.
Is it only 93?
His gap to Perez now.
I thought it was more, to be honest.
I think that won't extend to 150 by the time you get to 6 races from the end.
No.
Oh, sorry, 156 it would have to be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think to have more than 104... No, it'd be 112 because there's still a sprint.
Yeah.
I think
it gets really complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think that's pretty reasonable. So 4 races left, he'll have a gap of over 112.
That's fair, I think.
Which is, how many 4 races from the end? What race is that?
Abu Dhabi, Brazil, Mexico. Or Kota.
Oh, that's such a boring place to win a title.
Hamilton won... Well, yeah.
He won... Yeah.
Hamilton won 2 there, didn't he? Yeah.
Neither on the podium.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
Let's
USA is 4 to go anyway. That's a much better place to win.
What's that, sorry?
USA is the 4th race to go.
Yes, yeah. I wanted, though, before we forget, we want to do the quiz. This has been a very, very disjointed end to the podcast, but we are doing the quiz still.
Because Matt had an absolute shocker remembering who Jack Aitken was on the
I couldn't remember Jack Aitken. So I am going to give you a very, very fun quiz.
I also should close all of my Wikipedia articles I've just had open in case
you
it helps.
Probably should. So, Jamie 183.
Yep.
There have been 14 Dutch Formula 1 drivers.
Okay.
How many
I won't get
can you
most
name?
of these.
I think you could get 4, maybe 5.
Really?
Well, 3, maybe 4. You'll have heard of a 5th.
What chance have I got here then? Okay.
Do you want a minute or do you want 30 seconds?
Well, I think I can get like 4 off the top of my head.
Okay, that seems fairly sensible. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Max Verstappen.
Yes, 1.
Guido van der Garde.
Yes, 2.
Jos Verstappen.
Yes, 3.
Christian Albers.
Yes, 4.
Robert Dornbos.
Yes, 5. You won't have heard of the others.
I'm struggling now.
You've got 43 seconds.
43 seconds to not get any more. Well, Max is the only one to have won a race.
It's just 43 seconds of dead space now.
Yeah.
Most of them never scored a point, if it's any help. One of them scored 2 points. One of them scored 4 points.
Are they all from like the 60s and 70s?
Yes. Well, a couple in the 80s.
Are they any of them Van der...
Yes.
Van der Sar?
No, not quite.
Van Boom?
No, not quite.
There's no chance.
You got 7 seconds. I just wanted you to feel the pain I felt last week.
At least yours is reasonable.
There you go. Time's up. Time's up.
You had heard of all of the ones I asked you on.
Yes, I had, but still, I'm amazed you never heard of Jan Flinterman, Dries van der Lof, Karel Godin de Beaufort, don't know what the accent is, Ben Pol, Rob Slotmaker. That is certainly a name that I'm sure got him stick. I'm sure he was quite popular in the red light district of Amsterdam. Mr. Slotmaker himself. That is such a bad joke. Glees van Lennep, Roloff Wonderling, Boyhey, Michael Bleekmollen, Jan Lamers. Who...
I think I could have got Jan Lammers. Is he for someone relevant?
I think we're thinking of some more recently, someone with a similar name. Was it Jan Limer?
Oh, there is a Fabian Limer, he's Swiss.
Yeah. Hub Rothengatter. And yeah, those are all the other ones.
Well, I did well. Every driver... Oh, the only ones left the last day raced regularly was before 1986, which is a long time before I was born.
Yeah, it is a little while before either of us were born, wasn't it? I mean, you're still younger than every F1 driver.
Yeah, I am, by a day.
Yes.
So if Liam Lawson gets in, then I'm done.
Exactly. And I mean, we have just, I think, got one more piece of news this week, Jamie. It wasn't on the rota, but this is huge news.
Oh no.
For die-hard Formula 1 fans,
Oh, I know what you're going to say. I'm heartbroken.
I am also very, very gutted by this. Lando Norris and his girlfriend have broke up. Thank you all so much for watching this week's podcast. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like and get yourself subscribed. Click the link down below. Follow us on Spotify as well. It would be greatly appreciated. And we'll be back next week with more Knowing Wheel.
What's the bigger fumble, Russia 21 or Lando breaking up with his girlfriend?
I don't know.